You know, when you hear sales reps in the online space say that they've closed 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, well, the guest that we're speaking to today has over 10 years of experience in the sales game and has closed over 1.7 billion in lifetime value. That's with a B. So the guest that we're speaking to today is Mr. Roel Mojico. Welcome to Progress with us, bro.
Welcome to the pod, man. It's a pleasure to speak with you
Progress
today.
with us.
Progress with
Cool
us,
name,
bro.
man.
Yeah,
That's a cool name.
Man.
The whole idea is that, like, when we started it, we were both working jobs. We were both at uni, so we were just like start it, meet people. But the whole idea is that obviously you get to see us go from whatever, but then we also get guests back on that every year. It's a bit of like a lifetime value thing. So we'll talk to you about what the goals are for the next 12 months, and then in a year's time come back on, and then it's like, cool, did you do it?
Boom.
So it's a good idea. Look, bro, you have an amazing story, and I know that you've probably told it on Instagram and YouTube and everything, but I do think our audience deserves to hear the story. So I'm just going to let you take it away and run it back to the start of the sales stuff, because I've got some stuff.
Okay, great. So just before the sales stuff, just a normal lad, to be honest. I come from a town just outside London, and I was a bit of a crossroads growing up because I grew up in a really privileged area. However, I lived in like a council estate. So all of my mates were like, I went to state school. All of my mates were, because of the area that I was in, so their parents were doing really well. You know, my mum, she used to do a bit of cleaning as well. And I used to go with her to these houses when I was really young, because obviously she wouldn't just leave me at home. And I was exposed to, I guess, the potential of what you can have if you lock into something and do a great job. But I just never really had the tools. I never had the network around me to get me to that next level. And my parents are from the Philippines, but I was born here in the UK. So I was always at that crossroads of seeing what it was like in the Philippines, being super grateful to have grown up here. And when I started in sales, it gave me that advantage of nothing is really handed to you. You don't have to come in with a degree. You don't have to come in with any sort of special talent. If you work hard and you apply the information from people that are just producing the results that you want, in my eyes, it was eye to eye. I was like, this is the industry that I want to lock into. And I guess I started in sales 10 years ago, and I haven't looked back. So
what I've spoke about to a couple of people in the past is the idea of either passion or money.
Yeah, sure.
And which one came first? So, you know, a lot of people go for the idea of, right, I'm not going to do anything to do with my passion. I just want to go straight for the money.
Sure.
And then at some point down the line, they end up crossing over to the other side and finding things within that thing that they then enjoy and become passionate about. But would you say that was one of the two that you started at? Or, you know, how did that kind of look for you?
Look, when I started in sales, I didn't really realise I was getting into sales. Yeah. I was actually kind of catfished into this business.
Marketing.
Yeah, that's what it was. And so just to let you know the journey behind me ending up doing this. So I was at a crossroad again. My parents told me you have to go to university in order, like, you know, for a lot of people, they think that uni is like an option. Okay. With me and the way that I was raised, you know how you have like key stage 1, 2, 3, and 5. That's what it was when I was growing up anyway. It was like key stage 7. It was like non-negotiable. You know, to be successful in my family, you have to go to school, get good grades, go to university, and somehow magically like find your dream job and work your way up. And when I stumbled across sales, it was in my gap year. So I didn't know what to invest into my time and my effort into a degree. And the reason why is because I was either going to do business, I was going to do something creative. And I looked at a couple of my friends, and the way they were at uni, I just knew the type of person that I was. Yeah. And I would have just drifted into the wrong crowd. And I wouldn't have just made a loss financially with regards to investing into a degree. It would have been a lot of waste of time, because I love a night out. And my mates know that I'm the easiest person to convince to go out. And I know for a fact if I went to uni, it would have just spun me out of control. So I took a very logical, and it was probably the most mature decision that I ever made. But I said to my mum and dad, I was like, look, I'm going to take a year out, just because if I go to uni now, we're going to invest thousands and thousands of pounds into a degree that's either going to lead me some sort of way, or I take the year out, see where I'm at, see what I'm actually into, dabble with different career paths. And I ended up working for a software engineering company, ended up working with my friend's dad part-time, buying and selling and cleaning vinyls, like old records for him. And I just learned so many lessons whilst I was working for my friend's dad, because he was quite an entrepreneurial guy. And I'm sure you guys have heard of the book like Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
So he was like my rich dad, okay? And he was like, the lessons he taught me were, look, he's like, never, ever sacrifice your time for money.
Is that Liger's dad?
Liger's dad?
Yeah.
Elijah.
Yeah.
He was like, never sacrifice your time for money, because if you do that, then you don't have control, okay? And they own you. Mm-hmm. And that was a lesson. That was the only lesson that I needed, you know. And yeah, I had a summer left before I was meant to start uni. I fell into this industry. I advertised it as marketing, okay, just because that's just how they were recruiting back then. And and I got catfished into door-to-door sales.
At what point did you realise that you weren't going to be doing marketing and that you were going to be doing door-to-door?
You know what? Maybe I was just a naive guy. And I just believed everything, you know. Mm-hmm. So I went in for a first round interview, and this guy that interviewed me, he was quite an inspirational man, you know. He was in his late 20s. He looked like Drake, okay. Like, okay, he looked like Drake. And I was like, this geezer looks like Drake. And it was a very unconventional interview, because most of the interviews that I'd been in before were, this is what the job is, this is what your role is. And they would talk about progression, but it was never really sold. Whereas the first interview was, where are you at? What are you into? What are your strengths? Okay, let's see how it complements with what we do. This is the progression ladder. That's what they sold it. This is it. If you do this right, blah, blah, X, Y, and Z. And I'd never been to an interview like that before. And also I just bought into the geezer that was interviewing me. So from there, I was sold, not really on the business, but I was sold on him. Mm-hmm. And I came in for my second round interview, and then I ended up doing an observation day, knocking on doors. And I still didn't realize I was doing door-to-door sales. I just thought they were doing some market research, X, Y, and Z. And I didn't realize that I was doing door-to-door sales until maybe like even 2 months in. That's just how naive I was.
So where was that? Where were you actually knocking doors?
I was knocking doors everywhere in the UK.
Yeah.
But the office was based in Reading. So they would send me out on business trips up and down the country. And I was knocking doors for different products like credit cards, broadband, energy, and so on and so forth.
I mean, something I'm quite curious about then is, you know, the difference between obviously door to door compared to now, the way that a lot of people seem to be breaking into the sales space is maybe become, you know, a setter or an SDR or whatnot.
A closer,
or a closer, yeah. And for you then, how do you feel like the skills that you learned from door to door have helped you now? And also, how do you feel like the comparison is between the two?
I've done both. Mm-hmm. So I started in door to door. I built a huge organization of reps across the UK still doing door to door to this day, you know, and pop-up events and so on and so forth. However, in the last 24 months, I've also gone into like appointment setting. Okay, mm-hmm. I've also done a bit of SDR. I've also built teams for info, product, coaches, and so on and so forth. I've developed closers and so on and so forth. And to be honest, the only difference between online, okay, and offline is with online, you generate your own leads. With offline, you generate your own leads.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's you are in full control of everything, the full sales process. Whereas online, okay, marketing plays a big role. Yeah. Okay, and if prospects are nurtured the right way, it's pretty easy to close, to be honest. Okay, it's pretty easy to appointment set, and as long as there's the right systems and structures in place, you don't really even have to be that good. Legit. But with in-person roles, you have to be quick on your feet, and there's the objection handles that you go through just makes you a little bit tougher in the beginning. That's why a ton of people that have transitioned from offline, whether it's door to door, and moved into online, they already understand the mentality. They just need to learn the skill.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. So when we did Temi and Yomi, they were talking about how obviously this was in October, so they hadn't gone and started what you guys are doing now here in London. And I remember saying to them, like, you know, you're doing all right. Like, what's the mindset behind going and knocking doors in December in London? And they were just like, well, they mentioned you. They said they'd looked at you, and they were just like, it's a different type of person.
Sure.
It's a different type of skill.
And if you look at Yomi and Temi's situation prior to working with me, I'll put my hands up. It wasn't all me. It was obviously all them. However, I think when they first started working with me, they were on like just a cusp of like 30K. And now they're like I think they're nearly getting to the 60K mark a month. So the transformation there has been down to the way that they've developed themselves, and I guess their better understanding of the people that they're now coaching. Because when you're coaching in-person sales reps, you're with them all the time, and you kind of understand the leaks in the pipeline and what holds that person back. Sometimes online, you don't get that because they just tell you everything that you want to hear.
Yeah,
okay? And you
100%.
only see the best version of people online. Okay, but when you're with people, okay, on the ground in the trenches, you see all of the leaks. You see everything that can hold that person back. And if you're not afraid of conflict, and you can get really good at conversations, okay, and you can get really good at reading people, yeah, it's an invaluable skill that you can transfer in every stage of your game.
Yeah.
Do you think if you had been on that gap year, right? Let's imagine that you were 18 today, right? And you had been on that gap year. Do you think that you would have still gone into door to door, or do you think you would have just gone straight online?
It's really funny because I was talking about this with my girlfriend earlier, and I genuinely believe that I am destined for this game. I don't know what it is, okay, but the idea of just working with people, because again, I do consulting online, right? And I build online info sales teams, and I've just transferred everything that I've learned from door-to-door sales coaching into this.
Yeah.
And the transition's been really smooth for me. However, just the atmosphere of being with 50, 60 guys there, all driven towards one goal. You know, it still excites me every single day. I wake up in the morning and I go into the office and I get some sort of buzz, and I have so much excitement to like develop the team and get it to the next stage, and the narrative, okay, and the goalpost that we set at the beginning of the year, or each quarter we're going to do this, and this. Like I've been doing this for 10 years. I wake up and I'm so fired up just to fucking beat the beast, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
With my online stuff, I don't still have that, you know? Like the money's great. Like the team's really cool, but I don't spend time with them enough. I do a sales call in the morning or in the afternoon, and they're just telling me what I want to hear, and I'm like shooting them down on what I need to hear. And I still get it. And when I meet them face to face, I get that same sort of buzz as well. But I guess going back to your original question, like the passion and the financials, the passion is still in the in-person space, just because I'm with people all the time.
100%. I mean, when we spoke to, Jordan, the Lion Glass, that was one thing that he was pretty kind of persistent on speaking about, just the culture in general.
Yeah.
Because I think even like for me personally, right now, I'm a closer, so that's what I do. And like, I'd say that one of the past offers that I worked on, it was great because everyone was from all over the world, whatnot. We had sales meetings in the morning. Half the people probably didn't turn up. The other half, like half asleep. You just don't have that kind of hype that you get potentially in a workspace, speaking with people in office. I mean,
100%.
we're kind of lucky because we all live together and we're all fired up in the morning.
We've
got that kind of culture.
You need that culture,
there, and that's super sick. But I think for a lot of people as well, that whole remote working, it's not necessarily lonely, but you just don't have that kind of energy that you would do in a workspace that you speak of.
You definitely have to be some sort of type of person.
Yeah.
And if I originally started in the online space, I don't know whether I would have been able to produce the results that I've been able to produce now based off that. Because, again, I was not perfect. If you looked at the type of person that I was when I first started in sales, like, I wasn't unconfident, okay? I wasn't that feeble child, like, in the corner, okay? I've always been okay speaking to people. I've always been known as that guy that's okay speaking to strangers and building relationships and so on and so forth. However, what lacked within me was, like, I still had, like, insecurities. I didn't know, okay, whether this was for me or I was going to do well. Yeah. But because I had so many people around me, coaches around me, that were holding me accountable day to day, I looked at those people and thought, they don't have to do that. But number two, I was like, I'm so appreciative and I'm so grateful they are doing that, because they're letting me know where that I need to create the cracks in my game, and it's real time every single day. And that's the reason why, again, it was beneficial for me to start in that sort of industry in the beginning.
So I guess for you then, there's that. I feel like the accountability is probably one of the biggest things in sales that potentially could still lack online. I mean, how do you find that then working with people within the remote space, if you're training up remote sales teams in comparison to the door-to-door, how do you kind of differentiate so the quality is still the same on both sides?
You just have to have trackers, man.
Yeah.
You honestly have to have a tracker for everything.
100%.
And in-person sales, there's 3 trackers that you have, okay? So number 1 is your production log, so how many sales you're doing in each day. Another one is the gauges, so you know the pipeline of where people lose people throughout the conversation. And then another one is just a financial one, so you understand the profit and loss on a day-to-day basis, how much you're spending out and what you're netting at the end of the day or at the end of the week or the end of the month. Really basic and really simple. Online, because you're not with people all the time, you need to have a tracker for everything. You need to have a tracker for their mindset. You need to have a tracker for when they start to like zone out at a part of the day. You need to have a tracker for like all your meetings, okay, to have. So there's just like, I guess, 12 different trackers that you need to have in the online space because you're not with people all the time. You need to be able to hold them accountable on certain things. And in the beginning stages, when you're entry level, you need accountability constantly. Yeah. When you start a new role, when you're a new SDR, when you're a new closer, when you're all of these things, there's so much trust there from our end to make sure you're doing your job properly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Whereas in the face-to-face side of things, because you're with people all the time, like you can hold them accountable real time, and you don't need to have as many trackers. You just need to have those 3 basic things that I spoke about at the beginning.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I guess with that culture then, how would you say that you would build that yourself for people? You know, let's say you're building out a new HTS sales team, whatnot, and you want to actually vet these people, not necessarily because they're the best of the best, but you want to make them the best of the best.
Sure.
And how would that process look for you to make sure that, you know, number one, they don't get burnt out or they don't start slacking a little bit or whatnot? How would you kind of make sure that happens?
I love that question. Okay. And the reason why is in the beginning, like you just said, everyone's going to tell you how perfect and how great they are because it's an interview. Okay, they're always going to tell you what they can do, and sometimes people are shy away from being honest with what they can't do or what they lack.
Yeah.
So in the beginning stages, when I'm doing my interview process, that's my sole purpose and goal. Okay, and I want the relationship from the get-go to be as honest as possible about what could potentially surprise me in the next month, in the next 2 months or 3 months about you. Yeah. And sometimes that question shocks a lot of people because they're like, oh, they're so prone to like selling themselves in sales. Like you're always learning how to sell yourself. But what I want them to sell to me, okay, is what could potentially hold them back and what they're going to do to fix it.
Yeah.
Okay, and why they're starting in my offer or my sales team to be able to complement those strengths to those weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I guess the culture in the beginning is the way that I've driven culture in any sales team is always led to be the number one. Okay, led to whatever market we're in, whatever offer we're in, whether we're doing energy, whether we're doing broadband, whether we're doing door-to-door, whether we're doing online high-ticket sales or anything, okay? Whatever the market or the niche that we're in, okay, the goal is to find out who is doing the best right now in this specific thing and to mimic and copy everything they do and do it more and do it better. And the culture that I always strive for in the beginning is I want to create such a big goal, okay, on the macro lens that incorporate every single person to be able to win.
Yeah.
And then in the beginning stages, before I even start the sales team, the first thing I do is I create the goal. The next thing is I ask the guys, okay, whether that goal incorporates what they're looking for and whether if we win overall, do you win individually? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then the next part is I don't tell anyone what to do. I just ask him, okay, so this is the goal that we've set out. This is what you said that you wanted to do. This is what you said. This is the situation that you said you want to be in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the line. Okay, whether this is the overall goal for you, that's fine. But what can we do today to make sure that we're on track to hit that in the next 3 months, 6 months, year down the line? And instantly from that conversation, you get the buy-in from the people that you're coaching because it's not about you anymore. Yeah. Okay, it's not about the company or the offer. It's not about the client that you're working with. Okay, helping the client win. Okay, helping the offer win inevitably allows you to win.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I asked him, okay, so what's going to allow us all to win in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the line, 24 months down the line? And then they give me all of the actions that they believe it's going to take. Sometimes I'll like manufacture it in a way where they give me the answers that I'm looking for as well.
Yeah.
Okay, but as long as they give me that buy-in, and as long as they give me those set of standards and those set of actions that we need to put in together as a group, then my only job as a coach, my only goal as a sales manager, my only goal as a leader is to hold people accountable to action in order to get and deliver those results.
Do you know one thing that I see as well is like what you've kind of just said there is like future pacing essentially. And I feel like with people going into sales, if you can't do all those things for yourself, it's very hard to do it on a call.
Sure.
Like it's something that I use a lot in terms of like what I do currently. Find out where people were, find out where they want to be, find out what it's costing them not being there, etc. Sure. And if you're not in a position where you're able to do that for yourself, it makes it a lot more difficult to be able to do it for your prospects or your people that you're speaking to and such as well.
And then once you understand as well where the holes are in the game or where people need that little bit of improvement on, if we say that there's a series of actions that we need to implement and people are still they're not very confident to be able to apply that to the highest standard. Mm-hmm. As a leader of any team, whether it's sales, whether it's sport, anything, you have to be able to put your gloves, get in the mixer and set the pace and lead from the front. Does that make sense? Yeah. And instantly, once you start doing that, people have no other choice but to do the actions to make sure that everyone gets to that point.
Being, over the past few years 10 years in the sales space and kind of having this way about your mindset and like your beliefs and such, how would you say that's impacted your actual relationships with people outside of sales?
Sure.
So in terms of just, progressing in the sales space, I feel like it changes the way you think about things in terms of relationships and how people think a lot. So would you say that's impacted your relationships and people outside of the space a lot or not particularly?
Definitely. I mean, in the beginning stages in my first 5 years in locking in to build the life that I want to live, the relationships, unfortunately, I had to make some big sacrifices. And I talk about this with my mates all the time, and they appreciate it now because we're all grown up. Like me and my boys, we're all 30 now. Okay, and now they're having to lock into their careers, and sometimes they miss social events, social settings. Like one of my boys is building an airport in Baku right now. He's been living outside of the UK. He's just got married. He's making those sacrifices now because he wants to set himself up for the future. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the beginning stages, when I was 20, all of my mates were at uni. We were all having like these social events, these festivals, these nights out, these birthdays, all of these things that I was missing in the beginning. And again, I didn't even care though. And the reason why is because I was so locked into just I had so much belief that I was going to do something. And throughout my whole life, okay, I was always a little bit lost. I'm like, where do I channel my energy? Where do I channel my energy? And when I started in sales, that first 5 years, I was just not good enough to do well in this. Mm-hmm. I had so many things that I needed to work on as a person, and I didn't mind investing the time to do whatever it took to get to that point. And the reason why is because that's the only thing that I had. I didn't have the finance, I didn't have the education, I didn't have the networks. The only investment from my end was the time, and I was willing enough to do it.
Do you see the difference now with the people you work with? So for example, like Temi and Yomi are they're like our age, they're like 22. Yeah. Temi's 22, Yomi's year below us.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, Yomi's year below us. But I feel like, do you know that decision that you had to make at 20?
Yeah.
Like, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but my older brother is 31 this year. So he's around about your age. And he said that like no one who he knew at that time were interested in doing anything other than going out. Because they didn't have this. They didn't see it. I mean, do you know how you said that you were actually physically in close proximity to wealth when you were growing up and you were going to your friend's house and stuff? Other people might not have had that. Yeah. Whereas like we go online and you see it and it's everywhere and the opportunity is everywhere. Yeah. With the people who you work with now, like the 20-year-olds, the 21-year-olds, how do you think that is like the people's willingness to learn and delay their gratification has changed between now and when you were getting started?
Sure. There's positives and negatives to everything. Okay, and what I mean by that is more people now are aware of what's out there. Okay, whereas before, when I first started, making six figures was like, wow, that's unreal. It's like none of us at 20 years old would even fathom making six figures. Okay, you had to be like 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 to be able to do that. However, we are now exposed in a world where wealth, okay, sometimes is people think it's closer than where it is.
Yeah.
So many people have this like false expectation. They know it's possible. However, their expectation is, oh, I just need to do this type of business and then I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I need to get into high ticket closing and I'm going to make 10K a month. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and again, like not to shoot shit at a lot of people, but they market it so in a way where it makes it seem like it's so easy.
Yeah.
You know, but in reality is however much money you make, okay, the reason why is because that's how good you are at the game, okay? And that's how well you understand the skills, that's how well you understand the market, that's how well you can complement your skills to add value to the market. Whereas so many people just think, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to do drop shipping and I'm going to make X amount of money. And it's like, okay, you need to give people that sense of expectation of what it's actually going to take. Okay, and don't get me wrong, sometimes these crypto guys, they make serious cash just from pressing a couple buttons, okay? And like, so like one of my clients, okay, that I've worked with, when he was 18, he built a company and he was getting sent Bitcoin, okay, constantly in like 2016, 17, like thousands and thousands of Bitcoin, okay? And before he knew it, he was like a multi-millionaire. And that's like one out of a million, out of a billion chance you're going to get to that point. Does that make sense? So
why was he getting paid in Bitcoin?
I think he was trying to increase the valuation of his business. He wanted to sell it, and the investor that he had was just working with crypto at that point.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, I mean, again, that's the chance of that happening to anyone is pretty slim. Okay, and he was just at the right place at the right time, and he was also very skilled. And if you speak to him, super intelligent guy, you know.
Yeah.
But just going back to the original question that we had, is like the positive about the online world right now is people are exposed to what's possible and what is achievable. Okay, but the expectation still has to be there.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to be a six-figure earner, you'd have to develop yourself to be a six-figure person. If you want to be a seven-figure earner, you have to develop yourself to be a seven-figure earner, and it does take time. You know, it's not just locking in for 3 months or 12 months into something and everything's perfect. I've got a ton of friends that have been ultra successful in every industry they're in different industries, and all of them have said to me, it's just because I locked in for 5 years.
Yeah.
If you lock into something for 5 years, I promise you will be an expert in at least 1% of it. And whether like one of my boys is in finance, okay, and he makes a lot of money, and he's been in that business for 5 years, and if he left that business, they would take a massive loss because he is now technically classed as an expert. You know, he wants to leave because he hates it. He tells me all the time that it feels like he's sold his soul to the devil.
Right.
Okay. However, like he is a top 1% now of anyone in that industry. Okay, that started at the same time as him. Okay, that sometimes some of them might have left or X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And with me in door-to-door sales or the industry like that I'm in right now, it's like the only reason why I'm where I'm at is just legit because I just didn't quit, and I didn't quit, but I knew and I was very self-aware of all the things that could hold me back, and my mission was just to really, really work on those things.
Bro, I wish someone had told us that.
Yeah,
I wish someone had told us. 'Cause, bro, we were both at uni like 2 years ago. Both dropped out of uni, and we bought a YouTube automation course, right? So automated YouTube channels.
Yeah.
You make money from that ad revenue. And I remember we were like 3 months.
Going to Dubai.
PJ to Dubai. Little did we know that was no way in 3 months' time we were going to be on a PJ to Dubai. And I also think that it's like people give the analogy right of a gym membership. You sell gym memberships, but not every single person who you sell a gym membership to is going to go to the gym and get fit or lose weight or bulk or whatever they want to do. And we've said this on other pods, but I'm so interested to see in like 5-10 years time, the effect that the online space has had on like employment patterns, right? The amount of people going to uni. So all the lads that we know who went to our secondary school who were 2 years below, none of them have gone to uni.
Yeah, sure.
Like a group of like, we come from a nice area, right?
Yeah.
Where the school that we went to, it was similar to you. It was like key stage 1, key stage 2, and eventually you do your A levels. Yeah. You shorten it down to 3 A levels, and then the A level you like the most, you go and do it at uni, and then you go into that field. Yeah. But the fact that a group of lads who all went to a school where that is the path that is destined for, none of them have gone. They've all taken a gap year. I was speaking to one of them in the Nursery Tavern on Ecky Road, and he said he was doing trading. And it's like, it's going to make a huge difference.
It's going to be a big shift. Yeah, there's going to be a huge shift
on that employment pattern. But
you're right, man. I think the info space is, I think in order to get to a certain stage, you have to have your level of commitment has to sometimes be bought in the beginning.
Yeah.
And just like the gym, right? Use it as analogies. How many people go to like, I don't know, a pure gym or whatever it is and invest maybe 30 or 40 or 50 quid into a gym membership, but how many people actually get fucking super trim? The people that get super trim and super fit and super strong, they have experienced some sort of level of pain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Either they're a fat cunt and they're like, I don't want to be fat cunt anymore. Okay. And I'm just going to just fucking lose some weight and get better girls or whatever it is. Okay. Or they've got some sort of health issue and they're forced into that environment because they understand where the cost is, right? In the beginning stages, if life's not that bad, okay, and you are in the middle class and you could get a job, and because there's no serious amount of pain there, so many of these guys, okay, are built and are trying these new things based on like a pleasure or like an excitement, or their impulse is really high because they've watched a couple videos. But once they start experiencing the pain, that's the reason why some people quit, because the pleasure of getting somewhere isn't enough.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100%.
Like it's just so the way that you need to look at it, if you are gonna commit towards, I believe you can make money and you can become successful in anything you do. By the way, if you wanna become like a personal trainer, okay, you could be very successful as a personal trainer, especially in the modern world that we live in now.
Yeah,
I know my old PT in Liverpool, mate, that guy is doing like 200 grand a month. Okay, as an online PT.
Yeah, I was saying this the other day because like I go to a lot of kind of like bodybuilding gyms and stuff in Sheffield, and a lot of the natural bodybuilders have suddenly shot up. Like there's one based around like our area who's just bought a GT3 RS as a natural bodybuilding coach, which seems like something that years ago would be so out of the ordinary.
Of course,
you don't think a PT who just coaches bodybuilders will be buying 300 grand cars and having these crazy cash flow businesses. But I feel like earlier, we were sat outside a shop eating just some food in between podcasts, and this McLaren went past, and we were just trying to figure out, what does this guy do?
Who owns it?
But it could be literally anything. I was
we were like, it could be. We were like, especially because you're in London, right? We were like, he could be in finance, he could be an entrepreneur, he could own you said he could own a franchise bakery. We said he could be a footballer at Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham, Palace, whatever. I figured out what I was going to say a minute ago. So you were talking about the kind of 5-year thing, right?
Yeah.
And I watched your talk on being a key person of influence, which I really enjoyed, by the way, because I like Daniel Priestley's stuff as well.
Sure.
When you commit, like you have committed 10 years to this game, right? And I feel like what I didn't realize as well, because I like last year when we first got into stuff, I was trying, so I started off copywriting and then I was doing funnels and the marketing side of things, right? Until I got set on webinars.
Yeah.
And then you forget that when you just pick one thing, it's not a case of like one day as a unit of time.
Yeah.
It's not a 1-to-1 ratio. It's an exponential, right?
Yeah.
Because you have become a key person of influence in your industry.
Yeah.
Because of the compound exponential of the 10 years of you being there. And like, unless you really compound that, like the compounding of it is where you get the most return from it.
Definitely. And that's the problem with a lot of people, because we live in a shiny world right now where there is just so many opportunities.
Yeah.
They try like, I don't know, Amazon FBA, and then they go into drop shipping, and then they go into sales, and they like whatever fad is in the market right now. At the end of the day, I'm going to be honest with you, you can make money from everything.
Yeah.
However, the jack of all trades, master of none, it's just not it anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like with the digital world that we live in, okay, if you lock into something, okay, and you can become an authority in that one thing, you make money without even realizing where it's coming from sometimes. A few weeks ago, I posted a YouTube video, and some random guy from Australia was like, "Oh, can you help me with my sales team?" And then I literally gave him like 3 or 4 different systems. He messaged me earlier, and he goes, "Hey, bro, thank you so much, man. My profit margins have gone up by 40%." I literally I saw this message earlier. I was like, 40%. Mate, the guy was printing like, I think he was doing. He went from doing like 50k a week to like now 90k a week.
Wow.
And it was, mate, honestly the most basic system.
What's he in?
Mate, very niche in Sydney. He does window cleaning.
Wow.
He's got 6 sales guys. Okay.
Door to door.
Door to door.
Yeah.
6 window cleaners. Okay. And he can print that much. His average sales guy is doing 1.5 to 2k a day.
Fuck.
So I think he messaged me this morning. I'll show you. It's honestly unbelievable.
Get to Sydney, boy.
Say, bro.
So he goes,
the wrong business.
He goes, systems is key. My bottom line sales guy is now doing 1.5 to 2.2 every single day.
That's USD as well.
Actually, no.
Or do you reckon that might be AUD?
No, yeah, AUD. So divide that by 2 because the valuation of a pound is half.
Yeah.
So
it's still pretty good.
mate, it's still a lot, man. That's still 750 to 750 to £1,000 every single day.
Yeah, wow.
So it's so funny. He created a video a few days ago, and it was like, yeah, so many people talking about high ticket closing. He's like, my guys just do door to door sales, and they make probably 2 or 3 times more than some of these average guys.
Yeah.
And some of these guys have only been working with them for 2 months.
So we talked about some of the shiny stuff.
Yeah.
Talk to me about knocking doors in Liverpool, selling charity subscriptions.
Oh man, you know what, man? Charity fundraising gets a lot of shit. Okay, and I do appreciate it, and I do understand it because it's like you're fundraising, you know. However, the skills that you learn in fundraising is you're not actually selling anything. You know, you're selling a cause, or you're selling something that could potentially happen in the future, and you get to understand like how to get people to just buy into you. You know, it was tough. Yeah, it was tough. It was and the problem behind it is because it's just such the opposite of way to sell. It's like there's no value proposition.
Yeah.
There's no value proposition. The only value proposition is whether they believe in a certain idea, okay, or what could potentially even happen. We're selling an idea, okay. Well, we're selling something that could happen in the future if they invest money into something and they don't see any financial gain. The only thing they win from it is they feel good about it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the reason why. But what you learn in charity sales, okay, or fundraising is everything is a numbers game, okay, and you have to just believe that there are people that want it. Okay, so you have to just be okay with just getting a lot of rejection.
How did you find Liverpool? Like knocking on doors and having some scouts being like.
Honestly, I had a great time in Liverpool.
Yeah.
I still look at Liverpool sometimes. And have you got like, I don't know, a specific place where you just get like nostalgia, and whenever I go to Liverpool, whenever I go to Nottingham, I'm walking around the streets and I just get such a nostalgic feeling of like winning. Okay, and the reason why is because there were so many points where I had like such a break in mentality shift, or my back was against the wall and I was so broke and I just didn't have nothing, like anything to be proud of. And I would be like, oh, I'm in this situation. I invested 4 years into this business. Okay, 4 years into like getting good at this game, and I had nothing to show for it. But then that was the time where my mentality shifted and I started to understand where I channel all my energy towards. And there's so many wins from Liverpool, man. Yeah. I think if I look back at Liverpool, it was tough because I had to like go back to like ground zero, and I lost everything at that point. But that was where I channeled all my energy towards actually building something long term for myself.
I mean, you spoke about getting a lot of rejections, and you know, one of the biggest things that you see now is how to handle this objection, how to handle this objection. But how important do you actually think it is to be able to just take rejection and handle it within the sales space,
Sure.
you know, for yourself, and not to be like, oh, this person just told me to go away, like it's the end of my life, I can't, like, feeling all horrible and whatnot.
Sure.
But how important do you think that whole idea of being able to handle rejections actually is?
Look, at the end of the day, in sales, people are just going to say no.
Yeah.
Like in sales, sometimes the value of being able to handle a no outweighs being able to actually find a yes.
Yeah.
Because some people get rid of yeses because they carry the last rejection into the next call or into the next conversation. And the reason why they don't produce sales is because they're living in, they're like a ghost of figure of what they are because of something that already happened like 5 minutes, an hour ago, or 3 hours ago, and they're bringing it into the next sales conversation. So if you can just get really good at dealing with rejection, okay, and understanding, okay, that person said no, this is the reason why, this is something that this is the mistake that I'm not gonna make ever again, this is the lesson that I've learned from it, your close ratio will get better.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, but the problem with a lot of people is, oh no, I just got this no, I just got rejected, I'm so bad at this is the right thing for me? And they don't look at it as with a growth mindset. They have a fixed mindset, and they think that their performance is attached to them personally.
Yeah.
Instead of just figuring out, okay, these are the issues, these are the reasons why these types of people say no. Now let's redirect my energy and focus to making sure that I'm better explaining this, and this.
Yeah.
You know, sales is great because you're getting paid for learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I 100% agree.
like if you're terrible at most jobs, if you're a carpenter, okay, and you mess up your job, you don't get paid. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But in sales, you have unlimited amount of people that you speak to, and every single person is just a lesson to get better to the next one. So I think dealing with rejection is just how you perceive the result.
I mean, this kind of links back to what you were saying previously in terms of, you know, like with the whole online space and, you know, people trying a bit of everything. I feel like the whole idea of like rejection, and whether that be the actual, not physical, but maybe like you rejecting the business in terms of not being able to do it properly and such, is maybe the biggest thing that majority of people never truly actually try something. Like I remember there was a point towards the end of last year where I think one of our close friends mentioned it to Charlie, and he said it to me. He was like, we've not actually gone hard at something.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, in terms of like the pain, I was previously doing something else, like running an agency. I met Jordan actually, and I was like, wow, sales, it's like something that I wanted to do from that point. Proper, first time we met him, we must have spoke to him for about 4 hours outside
Yeah, bro, Jordan's a beast.
And then we ended up moving into this new house, and I was just like, all right, here we go. I haven't really got any other choice other than to just make it work with the sales stuff.
Yeah.
And it was in such a short period of time. Well, it's not short now, but from when we've done, the amount you can learn and the amount you can progress if you actually just stick to something and go hard at it is insane. Like one singular thing, rather than, you know, previously doing the YouTube automation and this and that and all this fucking
YouTube
crazy stuff
automation
that we've done. If you generally just do one thing, go hard at it, every single day, the amount that you can do within a short space of time is insane.
I think the reason why people do that though isn't because they want to.
Yeah.
You know, people don't like being distracted. They want to become an expert at something. Everyone wants to be great at something, right? But the reason why people have so many shiny objects, and the reason why people divert their focus into loads of different things, is because they're always looking at it from where they're at right now.
Yeah.
They're not looking at it from where they want to be. Once you start directing your focus towards, it's just work out exactly the type of lifestyle that you actually want. Like work out the type of choices that you need to make. Work out the type of person that you want to be. Like work out everything in 10 years, 12 years. What do you want to be fucking known for? Does that make sense? Once you work, then reverse engineer everything that is going to take to get to that point, you know? And I asked myself this 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, I was like, okay, I want to be known for this. I want to be the best in this industry. I want to have this amount of people that I'm responsible for. I want to be living. I said to myself 10 years ago that I was going to be living in Shoreditch. And I don't know why Shoreditch. I have no idea. I think I had a really good night there or whatever. And I was like, I want to live here. I think there's so much action here, blah, blah. I said this to myself 10 years ago. I'm not even joking. Okay, and I said to myself, okay, I'm going to open up a business over in Australia. Okay, I'm going to expand everywhere across the UK. I want to be recognized and known for having the #1 sales training platform in my industry. All of these things I visualized, and I said this to myself 10 years ago. I promise you, everything. And then I just reverse engineered everything that I needed to do to get to this point. Everything has been mapped out, you know. But the problem with a lot of people is they see a shiny object, they're like, okay, they're just living day to day. And the day-to-day problems sway them, okay, and divert their focus away. And they have a tough day or a tough situation, and they don't think, oh, I need to upskill and get better from this to become more valuable. They think, oh, it's because the reason I'm in this situation is because of this. Do you know what I mean? And they're blaming so many things outside of themselves. But if you just focus on where you want to be, honestly, just give yourself, it doesn't even take a long time. Give yourself like an hour, okay, of just that hour will set you up for 3, 4, 5 years down the line.
I loved the video that you put out about people who have been athletes in the sports space, because that's a kind of situation, right, where you might have something where you've been playing for an academy. Let's take a footballer, for example. You've been playing for an academy since you were 6, and you get to the under-18s and you get to the under-21s, and you're just about to get into the first team, and you get told that your contract is gone and that they're not taking you on. And then, like, we know so many people who have played for Sheffield United or Sheffield Wednesday, and they've played from when they were 5 up until they're our age, and
that's their life.
And then, boom, you know, that goal that they had that they reverse engineered overnight is taken away from them, right? How have you seen like ex-athletes go on to perform well in sales, and what is it about them that makes them great in the industry?
Okay. The reason why I love that question, okay, is because when you're 20, okay, most of these guys get let go, like 20, 21?
Yeah, 20, 21.
Okay. Everything that you've done prior to being like 20, I believe, it's just character building.
Yeah.
Everything is character building. Like, and people, like, I know athletes, okay, and that just becomes their personality. That's like what they're known for. That's them. And when something like that gets taken away, mentally, it's a tough spot, because that's everything that you dreamt about was so close, or you knew you were good, but you weren't good enough. However, the mentality that it takes in sport, if you apply that in anything, I'm not just talking about sales, but in anything, okay, sports people are really good at just working on whatever's holding them back. Okay, that's it. If you can just get really good at that, and the reason why it complements in sales is because real time, you know what's holding you back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, if you're an athlete and then you start doing like email marketing, for example, okay, there's a lot of things outside of your control in that moment in time.
Yeah.
Okay. But in sales though, if you've got a good coach, if you've got a good mentor, I'm not saying every sales role is perfect for an athlete, because there's some coaches out there, there's some sales managers out there that just won't give you the right development or training. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I know for a fact, if any of those guys work with me, because I've trained so many athletes to do well, I know the type of potential they have as long as they're guided the right way. You know, and if you're an athlete right now and you're struggling with where to put your energy towards, okay, and you still want that accountability, if you still want that environment where you're working in a team, okay, and you like being a top performer, I think sales complements that so much.
How have you been able to go from, you know, you went through the interview process, didn't even know that you were getting in sales, to being a leader, and the way that you speak about the way that you manage teams and that you manage people, it's almost like night and day, right? You've gone from the bottom to right to the top.
Yeah.
What were some of the points along that 10-year journey? Like, did you feel uncomfortable stepping into new roles? Did you feel like you maybe weren't worthy yet? Or did you always know that this was just a new problem that you needed to tackle?
Look, I started in sales when I was 20. So had I had leadership experience prior to this? Definitely not. You know, like, my mates wouldn't even trust me to fucking choose the next pub that we go to. You know, like, honestly, prior to actually starting in sales, me talking in front of like more than 4 people used to stress me out. Yeah. You know, like, I was good at one-to-one conversations, but that's probably why I excelled in sales straight away. But public speaking, like taking control of a room, all of these things weren't a natural ability that I had. However, I looked at someone that had that ability, and I looked at that person and thought, if that person can do it, I could definitely learn. And I wasn't a natural at anything, any part of the game. Leadership was something that I had never had experience in, but I thought in my head, if you can become a valuable person and you can influence people and change people's perspective and change people's lives and teach people, I was like, surely you get paid well for that. Surely, if you can help people, like, naturally, you're going to have a great life. You know? And yeah, I started in sales. I got given responsibility to start leading and teaching and training people within my first 3 months of doing this, you know? And I fucked up a lot of people's careers because I wasn't a good enough leader. Like, I look at some of the people that I trained 10 years ago, and if they were around me now, like, they would be so much further ahead in their career. And I feel so bad for that. But I had to make mistakes, and I had to put myself in those situations where I wasn't good enough and I had to learn. And if you speak to any successful person, most of those people, their risk tolerance to putting themselves in awkward situations where they just look so stupid and still manage to find a way to win, there's such a common trend there. And it was like, not being prepared enough, not being good enough, but putting yourself in that situation and not being exposed of everything that you're not great at and still finding a way to move forward from it is a non-negotiable that I believe, especially in leadership. And how can you lead people to do something if you've never done it before and you've never messed it up? The reason why I'm such a good leader, I believe, in my industry is because I was so shit at everything. Okay, so I can relate to people that weren't very good, and the reason why is because I wasn't very good either. And I'll be like, okay, cool, man. Like, do you know how you're gonna? Like, how can I give someone advice on doing 0 sales in a day if I've never done 0 sales in a day? How can I give someone advice? Okay, or one of my the sales managers that I train right now. Okay, how can I give them advice on how to fix and develop their team to become a high performer or high performance team, hitting all the KPIs, if I hadn't been in that situation where my team wasn't hitting KPIs and I had to fix it myself?
Why do you think you were chosen to do it so early in, like after 2-3 months?
It's just the industry that I'm in. I think it's the misconception in direct sales is it's not a marketing or sales business. It's a recruitment business.
Yeah.
It's a recruitment business. Like, that's like how we've positioned my whole company now. So I don't run sales teams anymore. I advertise my services to all of my clients, whether that's online or offline, as I run a recruiting and training company. None of the sales reps that I have recruited or trained the last 24 months work directly for me. They're all paid directly by my clients. My clients just pay me a commission for getting them to the certain standard that they're looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't look at myself as as a salesperson anymore. I look at myself as a recruiting and training individual. Like, if you want like A players, okay, or people to have been trained to an A player standpoint, okay, use my systems and I'll make sure that they get to that point where whatever stage they're at right now.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to, say, build your ideal sales team right now, then what kind of qualities would you say that you look for within a team? And I don't necessarily mean, out of the box, they're incredible at closing, but I mean actual individual traits and kind of qualities. What is that you look for within a team?
I think the baseline is trust.
Yeah.
I have to be able to trust this person, not even in their abilities right now. Okay, I have to be able to trust that this person is going to do what they said they're going to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the foundation. They don't have to be perfect. They could be terrible. But if I can trust that person is willing to do whatever it takes to improve and do the job they said they're going to do and to their best ability right now, that's the foundation. The next one is people that aren't afraid of conflict.
Yeah.
If you are afraid of conflict, you will never, ever, 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 ever progress in life. Like, you have to be okay with constructive criticism. You have to be okay with being told, hey, look, this is what we're lacking right now and this is what we need to improve on. And you have to also be open to saying, hey, this is not working. As a leader, okay, I would rather my team tell me transparently why they're not producing the results they want to hit. Instead of being so afraid to say, I don't mind people not getting it. Like, I don't mind people feeling silly or whatever it is, but just act on it, man. If you don't act on it, if you fear the tough conversations and the conflict, you're never ever going to do anything.
Yeah.
You're always going to be stuck with those certain problems that you have. The next one is accountability. Okay, so they have to be accountable with themselves. Okay, and they have to be open and okay with someone being like, hey, look, man, like, if we genuinely need to get to this point, then we need to fix X, Y, and Z. Okay. Next one is just commitment levels. I think if you're committed towards a goal, if you're committed towards improvement, you're always going to do well.
Yeah.
Okay. So many people just lack that though. They lack their commitment to themselves, and it's just every time that you don't do something that you said you're going to do is another opportunity for you to lose your confidence.
Yeah.
The people that are confident are the people that say X, Y, and Z, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and they break past every barrier to get there, and that's how they build their confidence. You know?
What's the goal with the current business? Because I know that you were at Timothy Armo's mastermind.
Yeah.
And I know that he's a bit of an exiting guy.
Yeah, sure.
So I kind of saw that and I thought, right, I wonder what Roel's plans are with the new company.
Yeah, sure. Look, man, as I said, we've been talking about shiny object syndrome for the last hour. And the problem is, when you get to a certain situation, there is a lot of opportunities that come.
Yeah.
All the time. Okay, people just want to work with you on this. People want to work with you on this. Like, someone's asking you to buy their business and be part of their business. Like, there's just so much. There's so much there, man. And I guess the thing that's held me back, I guess, the last 12 months is like, where do I position myself now? Okay, so I'm an expert in this. Do I continue to grow that? Okay, and you know that analogy that Alex Hormozy says all the time. It's not about how hard you row. It's about what boat you're in. Okay, and with myself, because there are so many opportunities to channel my energy towards now, whether it's leadership, whether it's coaching. Okay, in my head, this is what I'm doing. So I'm just looking at my current business right now, and what can I do to continue to scale that? Because it makes me great money, and I just love doing it, and I love spending time with people. Okay, so it complements everything that I like about life. You know, helping people grow, helping people get better, and my clients get paid handsomely for it, and so do I, just to be transparent. But then I've got also a couple of different passion projects as well. So I do some online consulting now for anyone who's building an info product sales team. Okay, I'm not deep diving as a sales manager, but I'll do some consultancy to fix some of their systems. Direct sales managers across the UK, like, depending on where they're at and what they're looking for. I know for a fact, even if I worked with someone for 3 months, do one call every 2 weeks, okay, so bi-weekly, and do a call with their team once a week, I know for a fact that I can grow their team from 10 guys to 30 guys to 50 guys, just because I've just done it so many times. So I guess with me, where my focus is right now is to continue to scale up and grow. The clients I'm working with right now, as I said, NDAs, I can't really talk about their names, but they have so much they have so much marketing and recruiting budget for us to expand exponentially across the UK and outside of the UK. So I would be silly not to take that opportunity to saturate the market that they're looking to get into.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with regards to 10-year or 5-year plans, so on and so forth, it's just to continue to grow the business that I've got right now, and just to be recognised in the UK or across the world as the #1 sales trainer and recruiter. If you're looking for an A player, and you're lacking sales systems right now, then just hit up your boy.
How much of a factor do you think the personal brand will play into that?
I think the personal brand thing, just to be transparent with you guys, wasn't really something I ever wanted to do. Okay, you know how people have 3 things they're motivated by, money, fame, progression, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The fame side of things, I don't know what it is, but people are in the industry that I'm in. People have always been drawn to the information that I have.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's just because I'm just so passionate to talk about certain things, but I've had to kind of go into personal branding because I had my personal brand was terrible. Okay, not because of lack of what I didn't do, But it was I don't know whether if you did some research about it, I was called like the Wolf of Wales.
I have it right, the Welsh Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. It was, basically, I was running a sales office in Cardiff, and we were like scaling fast. Like we were at one point, I think we had like I moved there in I think September 2021, and by Q2 2022, we had like 110 sales reps.
Wow.
We grew it from like 7 guys to 110. And the problem with that is when you scaling sounds fun, and it sounds like you make loads of money, and don't get me wrong, there was that point. But the problem with scaling too fast is if your systems aren't there to scale too fast, there's going to be a lot of holes in the pipeline, especially with leadership. And so the team leaders that, I'll put my hands up, the team leaders that I had, because we scaled so fast, they weren't at the quality or the standard that even I was happy with. And when you're at that situation, a lot of things can happen down the line. And yeah, I'll put my hands up. Like, if you looked at it from a business standpoint, we were absolutely killing it. Okay. And we were like, the business was making a lot of money. We were expanding, we were opening up different markets and so on and so forth. If I could go back in time, I would have been a little bit more aggressive at the small things, and some people that were brought in that team, I probably just wouldn't even hire them. You know,
I'm kind of curious then on your position in terms of actual sales teams then.
Yeah.
And obviously door to door with HTS is kind of different in the sense of kind of lean mean team, big team, you know, loads of people out in the field. How do the two correlate between the two different kind of fields? And what's your opinion on both?
I think you have to treat it the same.
Yeah.
I think lean and mean is where the world should be.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool, because the more people you manage, the more ball aches there are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like everybody keeps on dreaming about this, like, I wish I could have this amount of sales guys, blah, blah. Honestly, okay, at a position of leadership, the maximum amount of people that you can honestly put all of your effort into is 8 people.
Yeah.
So if you haven't developed leaders within your organization and you scale too fast, there's gonna be problems down the line. Does that make sense?
I was literally just thinking, Joe, when you said you had 110 people, I was just thinking, like, can you imagine if you had an online offer with 110 sales?
Yeah.
Like, it's just absurd.
Yeah,
Like,
but you need to have, the idea behind scaling is you need to be able to develop people so strong so you can plug out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's part of, because I've scaled really fast and I've made all the mistakes from that. Like, I now know how to systemize things where I can plug in people to replace certain things that I either don't want to do or know that it's important even when I'm not around. Like my girlfriend and I were talking about earlier, and like, we get to go away a lot now, okay? And if I want to expand and open up an office in fucking China, okay, I could probably do that and leave my team in the UK. But the reason why I can do that is because the development of the leaders now within my organization is at a point where they can pretty much run the business without me. So I think that's important.
what are some of those things that you don't enjoy doing, and then the things that you do enjoy doing?
So I hate admin. Okay, I just hate it. I've got like mad ADHD, so I can't lock into something that I'm just not genuinely interested in. So all I do is I write down. I do this probably every 3 months. Okay, but I write down a list of everything that I don't like to do. Okay, and I'll hire people to do those roles. So for example, I've got a virtual assistant in the Philippines, and what she does is, I hate looking at emails. I'm gonna be honest. Emails just bore the shit out of me. Okay, so what my virtual assistant does every single night, okay, is she'll go into my emails, or in the morning, she'll go, before I pick up my work at 9 o'clock, she'll go into all of my emails, and she'll take all of these emails and summarize them, put it into like one document, all the points. So for example, if I've got clients, all of the KPIs they're looking to drive it to, what's going wrong, blah, blah, she'll summarize it all and put it into little points for me. And all I do every single morning is I look at that document, and I know exactly how to plan my day from that. Does that make sense?
It's like Trump's right-hand man said he would bring him the paper every morning.
Yeah.
And the first thing he would do, he'd sit there and he'd read the paper, and then he'd be like, right, gotta go fix that.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
So like, I don't want to look at emails and blah blah. It's just boring. Okay, and I don't think it's a good investment of time. But if I can get the exact same result, okay, from a smaller amount of input, then I'm gonna do it. Also, like replying to emails, like I've just programmed ChatGPT to understand me so well and how to reply to certain things. And if there's something that genuinely needs expert advice from me, most of my emails are sent from my VA. She literally just copies and pastes what it is, okay, puts it into ChatGPT, she bangs it all up together and sends it back to my clients, and with like a plan of attack of exactly what I'm going to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's just what I do.
I'm curious in terms of like going back to the scaling as well. When would you say like the perfect time is to scale then? Because, you know, if there can sometimes be that kind of, you know, scaling, recruitment, sales, a bit of a in between with the two. Do you think sometimes people can get carried away in a sense and kind of forget maybe their initial aim and just be like, wow, I just need more and more people?
Yeah.
And when would you say is kind of the right point to actually do that?
Look, so there's the only reason why you should scale is because it either is going to make you more money or is going to give you more time. If it doesn't do any of those things, then there's and what I mean by that is you're not going to if you scale, you're always going to reduce your time.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you have to put in work, because in order for you to scale up, you have to invest more time. But in 12 months down the line, or in 6 months down the line, or whatever it is down the line, okay, does it buy you back more time or more money?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. And also you also have to understand the market that you're in as well. So does scaling in this specific market even make any sense? You know, but some people scale up because of ego.
Yeah.
You know, and like they think that having a bigger team or having more guys or having a bigger business, okay, it looks on paper better, okay, or online it looks better. But at the end of the day, you've just sacrificed your time. You're not happy about what you're doing, and you're also making less money. So what's the fucking point? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Only scale because of fulfillment, time, and money.
It's a bit like what we were talking about earlier with going back to the gym analogies. If you want to put on muscle and you just decide to eat 6,000 calories a day, you're probably just going to get fat.
You'll get fat. You'll get fat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, there's nothing wrong with that if your goal is to get strong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If your goal is to get strong, if like for example, like right now, I'm just about to start a cut. Okay, so, but for the like I think it was last year and the year before, I was doing like loads of like I was doing like 6 month bulks.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was like 65 kg. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I got to like 85 kg, and I was like chunky. Does that make sense? I was doing marathons at the time. It was like horrible.
Shin splints.
Man, it was rough. But I also knew, I was like, if I want to get stronger, if I want to get bigger, it's just a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And the cost was, okay, I don't look good, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think bulking is actually harder than cutting. I don't know about you guys.
I agree to a degree, 100%.
I heard you say that, do you know the Cardiff thing? That was 2021. How did COVID affect the door-to-door stuff? Because we were in fucking lockdown.
Yeah, it was messy. So I had to move a lot of guys into telesales. So all of imagine this. Okay, put yourself in their situation. So they live free. They get to go out. Okay, door to door has like a negative name, but it's actually such a fun job because you're out and about and you're just speaking to people that want to speak to you. And people, especially in the UK, they are fucking hilarious.
Yeah, we do. What was it? We were on the train earlier, and like the train conductor and the person with the trolley was having like the most British conversation ever.
But people are just hilarious, man.
Yeah,
and
100%.
Look, door to door sales. If you like, I've done all the traveling stuff. Like, you know, when I was younger, I went around, like went to different cities and so on and so forth. I did like interrailing. But if you want to really immerse yourself in a city, do fucking door-to-door sales because you actually get to understand the people and the demographic of that city. You know, like I've lived in Liverpool, I lived in Nottingham, did a stint in Manchester, been in Birmingham a lot. Okay, I lived in Reading, I live in London now. Okay, whenever I expand into a new market, I just do some door-to-door sales, and the reason why is because it allows me to really understand the mentality of people in these areas. Like, and if you're training a team, for example, or if you're going into a specific market, in order for you to be able to sell to that market, you need to understand where they're at psychologically.
Yeah.
You know, and I always whenever we have new people come in, okay, people that are like traveling from like Australia and stuff like that, they love the idea of door to door because they really actually immerse themselves into the British culture.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
And you can drive like 40 minutes up the road and it'll be completely different.
Yeah.
Like Sheffield to Manchester's like an hour, Manchester to Liverpool's another 50 minutes. But the difference in that 2 hours between like
It's
Liverpool,
unbelievable.
Yeah,
Manchester and Sheffield, it's like a completely different place.
People have different mannerisms. People, obviously the accent is like a big thing, but like the psychology of people is it's so interesting, man. It's so interesting.
How would you say that your teams dealt with that then, in terms of switching over from the door to door to the telly sales? I bet that was quite.
Well, that's the thing, man. It was rough.
Yeah.
Because they go from being wild and free and just speaking to X amount of people, having a good time, to like being stuck in a room by themselves with like a headset on. Like we lost a lot of guys, man. I think prior to COVID, prior to COVID, I think I had like 38 sales reps. Okay, just after COVID, when the first lockdown happened, just after that, we grew that to like 117, and we were killing it. We were like the number one sales office for the client that we were working with. And then another lockdown happened. We moved all those guys into telesales, and yeah, man, it was messy. I think we went from 100 odd guys down to like, I think less than 10 guys.
Fuck.
Yeah, but those less than 10 guys, out of the, I think it was 7 people that we were left with after the second lockdown, and 5 of those individuals all progressed into a management position. So we scaled up that from less than 10 guys, 7 guys, and I think after the third lockdown finished in 2021 August, we had over 100 guys, and it was like that was a time when I was living in Liverpool where I was like, I'm actually starting to do well here.
Yeah, bro, I remember hearing Roel Mojico talk about it with gyms, because obviously he was in the gym niche, and he was like, overnight, 80% of the gyms in the US couldn't operate business anymore. And it's like, oh my God, like that is something that you could have never planned. Like, at what point in March of 2020 did you realize that, like,
Yeah, it was tough. But to be honest, I didn't look at it as a long-term thing though. Like, I know there was a lot of, that time was difficult for a lot of people because you just didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
In my head, I was like, okay, it was very expensive. It was a very expensive time. The reason why is because none of my guys the first lockdown, none of my guys were doing any sort of in-person sales.
Yeah. Okay.
And we didn't even have a telesales output at that point. So I was actually paying, like all of my guys were commission only at that point. None of them could make any commissions, and none of them could get furlough either, because they were all self-employed subcontractors. So I was paying everyone a fucking base. Wow. So and some of the people some of the sales guys that I had, mate, they had kids, they had like mortgages to pay for.
Yeah.
And from 2019, okay, I think from September 2019 to March 2020, I banked like 150 grand, and I'm pretty sure I went down to like 40 grand because I was just paying all my sales guys a base.
well, bro, it just shows you as a leader, though,
just to retain them, man.
Yeah.
And also, like in my head, I was like, man, these guys, like, I want to retain these guys because I see talent here. But honestly, it was tough, man.
How was that for you then on a personal level? You know, away from everything else, I guess for you, how did you actually keep yourself feeling strong, keep the mindset right, wanting to go on with everything?
Look, from 2019 to 2020, I was on top of the world.
Yeah.
I genuinely felt like I was the fucking man. Okay? I joke about this all the time, but I felt like I fucking owned Liverpool.
The Welsh Wolf of Wall Street.
No, it was prior to the Welsh Wolf of Wall Street stuff. But when I was walking around Liverpool, man, like, I'm a social guy. I'd go to like different bars, I'd go to different restaurants. I'd like interviewed probably like 50% of Liverpool. So most people fucking knew who I was. Okay. And at this point, I was in the prime level of like confidence levels because I'd gone through so much shit in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And in 2019, I was starting to come out of it. And I remember one of the sales managers that I trained up, we were walking, I think, to like a restaurant somewhere. And I literally said to her, I was like, Hannah, I don't know what it is, but literally, I could have any bullshit happen to me right now and I'd still be able to overcome it. I was like, honestly, I feel like everything that we touch turns to gold. That's where my confidence level was at that point. And then when COVID happened, I was like, fucking hell. Like, I did not expect this. But in my head, I was like, I've already been through so much this last 5 years. And I've been able to overcome so much shit. And I know for a fact my skill set is where it's at right now, that I could lose everything today and still fucking build it up again. And I still feel that way now. I was like, I could lose everything today. Everything. And I know for a fact, give me a year, I'd be able to replicate exactly what I've done in the last 10 years. That's just how much belief I have in the way that I do my business now. So.
Bro, I've absolutely loved this. Thank you for coming on. Time's run out, unfortunately.
That's right, man.
But where can people find you?
I've got my Instagram's Roel Mojico, so ROELMOJICO. I've got YouTube as well. My VA manages my TikTok, so apparently I've got a TikTok. I don't even look at it. But yeah, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
Amazing.
Oh, and for some reason, I didn't realize this, but I've got a huge following on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, you do, bro. I sent you a connection, and I was like, I thought that was intentional. I thought,
I don't know how that's happened, but it's happened.
I thought, like door-to-door stuff, LinkedIn is a bit more.
No, I don't know. I looked at my LinkedIn and somehow I've got like 12,000 followers. I don't know. But I might lock into that as well.
Yeah, do it, bro. Do
It's
it.
been an
Pleasure
absolute
having you
pleasure,
on.
bro.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Subscribe.